All right, guys, one of the easier days today. If you guys went to the pre-market chat, I basically walk this through. Uh, Very easy, right? If you guys been keeping track of anything I've been saying, distribution and footprint candle here, right? We've been distributing all the way down to here, but now the thing is we're coming into these gaps, right? Remember, we're targeting gaps on the short side, and then those gaps are going to be used to see if buyers show up. We obviously want them to, but we want to establish, hey, is this either a strong bid, and we can take calls off these. Don't forget that. That's what the emphasis behind today was, and understanding context, right? We had weekend news on AMD, right? If you guys saw, in China, government is not allowing. I think it was like, honestly, I didn't even pay attention. I think it was the government only is not allowing or banning governmental use of their chips, right? And I think Intel was another component of that as well. But it's just funny, right, that anybody that missed these moves up here, right, that news comes out and people want to go short right at this gap, right, where I'm expecting big support. Because this gap here was also a level, remember I said we were targeting this initially for a weak bounce back up to this spot here to retest 185. It did give us that bounce and then it sold off. But it's just funny how we come into the bigger gap, right, like right at it where we open at, and people want to go short. It doesn't make any sense, and people that are late to this whole distributive move are now going to be used as fuel to give this a move back up for what I think is going to be a lower high. And we can take calls off that. We just have to kind of understand the context and understand that, hey, this is like a great risk reward to take calls. Is it means to an end? Yes, right. We're looking for this to come back up into, a resistance or some kind of pocket for that lower high, and just kind of take it for what it is. And that's exactly what we did this morning. Very simple. You guys can take a look on the 15. We ended up opening in a beautiful spot where I mentioned that we were opening under Friday's low, which was here, this purple mark. And then we were bound. We basically opened right at 172. Right. We opened, pulled down, touched 172. We got a big buyer that stepped in, and initially I was going to wait for this to pull above 175 as my confirmation, then take calls here, and then it push out. I actually just ended up taking it off 172. I saw a big buyer on level two, and then I also saw a lot of a lot of stuff hit the tape with abnormal size. So I just took it off 172 as this candle was moving back up. That's how we got a really good entry. And then I just pretty much let it ride all the way up, kind of knowing that this is going to push and likely trend back up to this 185. I'm sorry, 185 to 188 zone. Remember, this is the daily gap here, but the actual hourly or 15 gap feels like right around here on a lower time frame basis. So like 190, right? But we were just looking for a move off of that, right? And ideally, some of these guys that were shorting off the news, off of Friday's lows and into a gap are going to be the fuel to move this up, right? And it's not necessarily buyers that are pushing this up. I'm sure there will be, but just the late shorts will give us the fuel needed, and then obviously profit takers will lead into these levels, and then we can look for that reshort. But super easy trade. Took the 180s, and these ended up going 150%. I was out of the trade by like that 70-90 mark. Obviously, we pushed up a little bit higher than I thought. Remember, I was looking for just like 180, which was this lower high here in this little pocket of consolidation. I wouldn't really say consolidation, right? We had a little bit here, but lower high, right? Just this little median, I guess you can say. And I left a little bit on the table with this extra 2 points it moved up on. It's all good. It's a Monday. But this was trade number one. Walk through this very, very easily. I'm not going to lie to you guys. I did take a roll on this too. So remember I said I was initially looking for an entry right here on 175. Remember, I got one entry down here. Boom. But then as it pushed above, right, and we started to flag and base 175, I did take 185 calls, or 182. Yeah, I think I took 185 calls. I took like 10 of these. I didn't alert this one, so, but I'm just giving you guys kind of like, if you guys get an earlier entry or you get a better entry and things still are trending nicely and they're getting confirmations above key levels, don't be afraid to roll. This is one of those scenarios, right, where I took an early entry, the trade worked for like 60%, 50% at this point. It pulled back a little bit, and then this was actually my trade that I was looking to take. Why not just roll, right? And instead of taking the same contracts and upping my cost basis, this isn't futures, right? Or this isn't like an equity position. So I would prefer to roll, and instead of being in the 180 and upping my cost basis, I can just go to the 182.5 or the 185 and go lighter size and then try to capitalize on that continuation move. And remember, the further out of the money you go, it can become more scalable. right? So once I get in here, I could grab like, let's say I grab 5 contracts here. This pushes up, I can close 3, and then on the roll, I can grab like 10, right? Because they're cheaper, they're further out of the money, and then as this pushes up, right, then I could ride my core out longer and then trim the secondary position more aggressively. So when I have 10, let's say this makes a higher high, I can trim 3, right? We push up, we end up filling the bear gap from overnight. I can trim another 3, right? And then I'm down to 4 contracts, 2 contracts, or 3 on my other position, and then it gets so much easier that way. So didn't alert this one, unfortunately. If you guys saw it in the chat, I did have 2 positions here. This one I think went like 65% max. I closed this up here. And then the last one, obviously, like I said, I closed around 90, but peaked at 150. But this was a really good trade. I put this even on Twitter because I felt like if you can't catch these things like this, guys, you're behind, dude. I'm not gonna lie. You're very, very behind. These are like fundamental trades here. This was everything that I pretty much teach. I said teep. Everything that I teach, kind of understanding the context of the trade, distribution, but also understanding key levels, news breaks under a Friday low. We're going into a gap where there's likely going to be either a trap underneath that or right just buyers bidding that level and protecting it. Obviously, side with the it's not necessarily a reversal. It's just it's a good level, right? It's all about risk reward here. We got a really nice move here. Like if you just took the low to the high, which we did get the low, $11 move. So that is that one. Tesla, let's review that one because that was a swing. That was only 3 contracts though, and that was sick. Let me show you guys. Alrighty, I shouldn't have to explain this, but I'm probably going to post this on Twitter. You guys know on Friday we took calls on Tesla, and I told everyone I was holding it. I was not trimming anything. I didn't go super heavy, though. That was the key to this. I only took 3 contracts, but really, right, it was the same. It was pretty much the same trade as Apple, right, where we had like that consolidation, right, / accumulation off the 3 lower lows. We ended up marking up, and then we had a quick gap up and then a pull down, right? I'll just show you Apple's chart just for reference here. Apple, same thing, right, where we had this here, if you guys remember. Voila, right? We ended up having the consolidation. We gapped up, right? We kind of sold down, and then we pulled into this little gap here. What do we do, right? This is a progression move. I put this video on Twitter as well for those of you guys that watch that, right? And then we got a $5, 3% move off of that. Tesla, same thing, right? Not the accumulation that we had speculated or saw, but we did have the lows put in here for the most part. We pushed up, retested 175, which is obviously a key resistance. You're expecting sellers here. Okay, but how much do they bring to the plate? How much is willing to sell at this level? Right, and then obviously it sold off on low volume. There's an opportunity here now from this little small gap, right? This is still a bullish progression, but not the biggest gap you would expect people to defend, but still, that's why I still only had 3 contracts. You don't have to go super heavy on everything. Context, as I always say, is everything, and just understanding where you're at on the chart and then sizing accordingly, and try not to let emotions get in the way. And if you're going to take size that small, just carry it target to target, right? If you lose this, you lose about $70. In today's case, won about 400, 350, nothing crazy, but still was very, very emotionless during this. But yeah, we got the pullback. It didn't tag the gap quite there, right? But still gave us the, I guess, the fundamentals here of a low, and then we had a higher low being set here off of this bullish progression. I took calls, like I said, on Friday. Didn't trim anything. I told people, like I know some people in the Discord were like, "Oh man, I'm trimming. This is like 50% or 60%." I think was our high as we pushed up here from Friday, and I just held, right? I mean, all I did was pull a fib here from wherever our high was at the time, and I was just expecting it to bounce off the 618 if we sold a little bit lower. We didn't, right? We kind of held our higher low intraday here, and then of course this morning, where do we bounce off of? Right, we ended up kind of opening right here, and then we ended up just rallying, and our open was conveniently right at that higher low. Pretty crazy, right? And this was such a strong candle. This was insane. I think I opened up down 9% or something like that, which is fine, right? That's the whole point of having light size. I'm okay experiencing some drawdown unless I get stopped. And honestly, too, I was prepared to add. If we came down here on low volume and everything kind of checked my boxes in terms of criteria without being stopped underneath my level, I was going to add probably another 3 or 4 contracts. Nothing wrong with that. Obviously, these contracts expire this week, and we have a short week, so that would have been a little hairy. But still, we opened right at this higher low here,
Beautiful rally straight to 175. It sold off from there. I mean, that's as good as it gets. And then from there, what did we get? We got another higher low. You know, this doesn't look like it, but for a lot of people, you look at the intraday, we're just kind of building a trend all the way up, right? So this was still, it still might have some juice in it. Not gonna lie, I still have my June contracts. Shh, we'll keep those quiet. I think I'm only down like 42%. It is what it is, but right, this is still trucking along. This is still trucking along. I did close all the way up here. I closed all 3 contracts. Like I said, I made like $350. I'll have to go back and check the exact amount, but literally a level to level hold. Beautiful, beautiful trade. What else do we have? Oh, QQQ. Nice easy trade here. I think we got in here. So remember, just for context, once again, we are still expecting a move up. I'm just going to have to dig a little bit deeper. But remember, we were looking for a sweep of the external high here. Anytime you get like a breakout like this on low volume, right? And it didn't have a high volume break. It didn't break out intraday and then base on low volume. It didn't have a high volume break, pull back on low. It really just kind of gave you a low volume breakout, and then it kind of sold off on low volume as well, which was weird. But on those, you can typically expect a retracement back to your EMAs or some kind of gap where there's more availability in terms of bidders, right, and just liquidity. I think I'm talking fast, my bad. I'm trying to get through this. But we basically had this here where it kind of pushed above, it pulled down, and as it broke the intraday low, if you guys remember, this is actually when I started the short. As we retested this, I went short, it sold all the way off, and then it started to move back up, and then we had our lower high here, right? This was kind of just our hold. Risk was up here, of course, so we're still holding for, you know, our risk to be broken. That's kind of the whole point here. Is that a short? I think we got, yeah, right in here. And this is obviously not like the perfect thing to go about in terms of risk reward because it differentiates with options, but still like a 1.6 to a 2. You know, maybe brought this down a little bit more because I was expecting the I guess the all-time high, the 448.64 to be our spot. So, you know, let's just say 2.2 to 2.5, somewhere in that range. So it's a good risk-reward trade. It trimmed a lot of this as it made its way down here, and then it retested here. I probably should have added. I remember if you guys were in the Discord, I was like speculating. I was like, damn, dude, like I really want to add into those Apple contracts for I'm not going to tell you guys what expiration, but for their earnings. But then I was like, at the same time, like, dude, Tesla looks good. I want to add into Tesla, but then QQQ looks good short, and I'm getting tug and pull everywhere. So I did just hold the contract that I had overnight. I only had one contract for full clarification, so it wasn't like a crazy win. But like I said, the bulk of it was taken off down here. So this was actually a really, really good win. I think I made like $800. But unfortunately, I should have added here. Hindsight, you know, it is what it is. But we did get the gap down that we were expecting, and then we obviously open right underneath into this this gap here. Once again, right? I posted on Twitter, hey, don't short the hole on a Monday, right? This is a big mistake from a lot of people. A lot of the names, like I said, AMDs and semis have been kind of leading. They pulled right into that perfect area to go long off of. You had a lot of other tech names that just opened up really nicely. And then obviously this, right? You want to see if these orders can kind of push the market back up. Obviously it gapped underneath, so they're going to have to move their bid down and then obviously have market try to push this back up. Market meaning market orders, right? They're going to be more aggressive and try to get it back above. And then it'll trigger those passive orders, and we'll kind of make our way progressively up. And yeah, I mean, I just kind of had a feeling this is going to push back to 446 and fill this bear gap, or yeah, this bear gap here. Right, boom, 446.20. I could have given you guys extra 20 cents, my bad. But yeah, literally perfect. Sold off right off 446. I am somewhat bearish on Qs again, right? Just a little bit deeper. I think we come to like somewhere. It's a little bit easier on SPY. Right, I do think we come down into this this zone here, like 517 to like 518, right, and then we'll see what happens from there. But once we get that, I'm pretty much looking to buy like any gap downs, if I'm being honest. I think we go higher. So that's a pretty nasty daily candle, though. I guarantee some people went short. I'm probably going to chase the short again. It's going to be the same story for the next 2 days, I think. So what else? What else? Oh yeah, Target. This has been a crazy one. Like I said, nobody on FinTwitch talked about this one, which is still wild to me. It's what it is. What it is. It's already too late. They can't get an entry. But remember, gap we pushed down here off the peg, right? We ended up pulling down into this gap here, Buyers ended up holding the gap. I mean, we did go under a little bit, but still, it wasn't anything on crazy volume. You had one footprint candle here with higher volume, just indicating there were buyers. It did slip under for 2 days, but like I said, I was okay and giving myself some grace and just kind of letting the position do its thing. Obviously, if we triggered down a little bit more into the gap, I would have closed. But that's, once again, the beauty behind swings. Swings aren't meant to have like 40, 50, 70 contracts. Just put 5 on the table, $300 of risk. Let it do its thing. You know, you don't have to have a huge amount of size. And the concept behind swing trading, whenever you do take them, is low risk, high reward, right? And you want to find the best setups possible, and just kind of say, fuck it, dude. Like, if it's a good setup, be okay losing and losing your way, and if not, dude, just let it ride to target, and you should be fine. This is one of those things, though, where we ended up pulling down. I think this was a gap trap. We ended up getting back above our range. Honestly, I should have added here once we closed back in our range. It's a mistake on my part. But then this is kind of what I taught on the Twitter, right? And I've talked about in my Discord as well, the bearish progression. We pushed up towards this gap here. What do you think sellers are going to try to do? Protect this spot. I've had this marked forever. We hit this spot and rejected just as I thought. What do? I don't panic, right? We want to see how the reaction is off of this. How is the tape? How is the volume? How do the candles react to this? And we ended up getting a 2-bar pullback on, once again, low volume here, as you guys can see, right? What is this now? If we can think structurally, low, higher low, boom. There we go. Now we end up getting our grind through this level. Now what is this? This should be technically our bullish progression now, where we can expect one more higher low and then push through target here, where we look to capture the rest of our gains. Unfortunately, I ended up taking this off the table today. I'm not going to say what I did, but I didn't want to have too much stuff on my plate. There's a lot of swing trades that are setting up, in my opinion, over the next couple weeks to months, going into like April 19th. I think that's the expiration. Yeah, April 19th. So I did take this off my plate, and I grabbed another swing trade. But yeah, this was another good, easy trade there. I did lose on Apple. As I mentioned here, it's just one of those things where, like, we had this progression candle here, right? We were looking for buyers to step in, and I did take it off this, right? So as we were pushing down, let's go ahead and go here. Usually don't use trend lines if you guys don't know, but right, we were kind of seeing low, higher low, and then obviously this push down, and we had our candle close above this level here, right? As you guys can see, like this higher low trend line, but still, sellers are going to try to hold this progression here. Ideally, I was hoping we'd get something like this. Don't worry about the trend line. I'm not worried about the trend line bounce, but some kind of like push off of that level and then continuation higher. Did it work out that way? No. I still, like I said, I have contracts that I'm trying to hold into earnings, which are coming up here in like late April. But I did also take some 328, 170, I think it was 175 calls, trying to get into this fair value gap here. I just think I got faded out. They ended up opening up like 42% down, and then it obviously pulled down underneath this higher low here. I was down like 50% or something in that range. And I closed them out. I think I had a $500 loss, so it is what it is. I took a risk on that, knowing this was a shorter week. Also, once again, kind of like a speculative area, just kind of knowing that we had that bearish progression. We had obviously not the best candle, right? The volume was still pretty low here, just not indicating much of a buyer presence. But I did take the risk off of that, and it is what it is, right? And I still, like I said, have my Apple calls for earnings. So that's pretty much everything I took. Unfortunately, I had a couple things I was watching today. As you guys can see, Myrna, I was looking for a break over 106. This was a name that I posted in the focus list last night. I think a lot of other FinTwit people were watching. I know Brocco was, Joe Stonks, TSDR, those guys. And I missed it for a second time, right? I went into the AMD short and I just kind of got lost in the sauce. But same exact structure breakout here, just a little bit more consolidated here, versus the bar by bar higher lows. You guys can see with this one, it was just kind of consolidated, kind of pinned up against this 106 level. I was looking to take it on a trigger break over 106, and it just kind of went, right? So 106 to 110 was the move, and that was what I was looking for. And you guys should know, right? The more these happen, these consolidation and breaks, they become weaker and weaker and weaker, especially as you're kind of nearing the external high here at 115. So this is off the list for now. What else? Coin was another one. Kind of missed this one. Simple concept again. You guys will see, man. Like, I have a pretty solid system here. but really kind of the fake break over the top of the external high. And what we got to work with here is kind of like an external low, and then we were looking for an internal high to be placed, which is just essentially like a higher low off of like not a lower high, but because we don't have a lower high here just yet, but we had some kind of gap here, right? It was 250 to 248. Where we had an imbalance candle kind of break through on the daily. So once we saw this sell candle, I was actually looking to short here and get down into this 250 zone. But then it pulled down into 250 on Friday, and I was like, you know what? I'm just going to bypass this and not look at it. I probably should have taken calls here because I was looking, and I was like, oh man, this is like an easy higher low. Bullish progression can now be held, right? And this was technically an imbalance candle on the daily. And my goal today was actually to take calls on a move through 256.96. Unfortunately, we just kind of opened above that and opened above Friday's high. And then it just rallied straight through, right? Goal for me was 275 calls or 280 calls. These would have done really well, but just didn't have an opportunity. And that's just kind of how it works, guys. That's just how it works. But yeah, that's just an update on today. Really good day. I think I had it at 8%, or no, 4.8% account day. And then I had a little bit on my Webull, but so like cumulative total, I think it was like 8. But my bigger account on Thinkorswim was right around 4.8. So that is the day. Hope you guys enjoy these. I try to put as much, thought. I try to vocalize everything that I see, kind of a little bit of my edge behind these as well. Just trying to give you guys replicable setups, right? Something you can replicate and do over and over and over again, and be able to sit on hands and just wait for these things to show up. Because this is how big money trades. It's very, very simple when you can break down the concepts and conceptualize exactly what they're doing. And remember, they don't really. I guess I'm not going to go into that. I'm not going to go into that. It's too deep of a combo. But yeah, guys, hope you guys enjoyed. I will catch you guys next time.